If you've ever stepped into a crowded space and felt your whole body tense up while everyone else seems perfectly fine, you're not imagining it. For some people, a packed room doesn't feel lively, it feels suffocating. It's as if the world suddenly turns the brightness up too high, the volume too loud, and the energy too chaotic to even breathe normally. Maybe it's a shopping mall where every neon sign feels like it's stabbing through your vision. Maybe it's a festival where voices blend into one giant roar. Maybe it's just a busy street where people rush past you without even seeing you. And there you are, frozen for a moment, wondering why everything feels so overwhelming, while others seem completely unfazed, laughing, moving effortlessly, like they're built for this environment and you're somehow the odd one out. And in that moment, it's easy to think something is wrong with you. But here's the truth. There is nothing wrong with your wiring. You're not broken. You're not antisocial. You're not too sensitive in the way people make it sound like a flaw. Your brain is simply tuned differently, operating on a frequency that most people never experience. What feels like chaos to others might feel like an unfiltered blast of input to you. What feels like casual noise to them might feel like a storm inside your chest. This difference doesn't make you defective. It makes you unique. And more importantly, science now understands why this happens and why your reactions are not weaknesses, but reflections of a deeply intelligent nervous system built for awareness, depth, and survival. In the next part, we'll break down the first big reason why crowded spaces drain you faster than most people. Your nervous system is processing far more than anyone realizes. Here's where things get interesting. Most people move through the world with a built-in filter, almost like having mental noise-canceling headphones. When they walk into a crowded place, their brain instinctively decides what to ignore. The crying baby? Tuned out. The couple arguing a few feet away? Faded into background noise. The smell of too many perfumes mixing together? Barely noticed. But your brain doesn't filter life that way. Your mind collects details the way a high-resolution camera captures light. Everything comes in sharp, layered, and unavoidable. Instead of background noise, you get the whole soundtrack. Instead of noticing one or two faces, you catch every expression, every shift in tone, every flicker of tension in the air. Psychologists call this trait a highly sensitive nervous system, and it means your brain processes sensory input more deeply than the average person. You're not just noticing the world, you're absorbing it. Imagine trying to take a sip from a drinking fountain, but the water pressure is fire hose level. That's what crowded environments feel like to you. Others can sip comfortably. You're getting blasted with information from all directions. That exhaustion you feel after 20 minutes at a party? It's not a lack of social skills or low energy. It's your brain doing intense, nonstop work while others casually coast. Research even shows that people with this trait process sensory information around 30% deeper than most, which means your brain is running a marathon while everyone else is taking a walk. But here's the twist most people don't know. This wasn't a flaw in our ancestors. It was a survival mechanism. Highly aware individuals were the first to sense danger, notice subtle changes, and detect threats before anyone else. Their vigilance kept groups alive. So your sensitivity? It isn't a malfunction. It's an evolutionary upgrade, a built-in radar system most people don't have. And yet, this is only one piece of why crowds drain you. The next one isn't about sensory overload. It's about emotional overload, especially when the room is full of masks. Let's be honest, crowded places aren't just noisy, they're performative. When people gather in large groups, something strange happens. They start putting on versions of themselves that don't quite match who they really are. The polite laugh that lasts a little too long. The overly bright, "I'm good," from someone clearly struggling. The social scripts everyone follows even when their body language tells a different story. Most people don't notice these micro inconsistencies, but you do immediately. Your mind catches the tension behind the smile. The dip in someone's voice, the shift in energy when a conversation turns uncomfortable. You don't need anyone to tell you when something feels off. You feel the truth before it's spoken. And this is why crowds drain you. Not because there are too many people, but because there are too many masks, too much surface-level chatter, too many interactions that feel hollow, repetitive, or emotionally expensive. Psychologists call this social masking fatigue, the mental burnout that comes from navigating environments where you're expected to perform instead of simply be. It's not that you dislike people. You dislike pretending. You dislike conversations that float on the surface and never go anywhere real. You dislike spending emotional energy decoding interactions that feel scripted instead of sincere. This is why you feel more alive during a deep 2 a.m. conversation with someone you trust than at a party packed with cheerful strangers. Your brain craves depth, honesty, and connection with weight, not noise. And here's something fascinating. Research from Oxford University suggests that people who avoid crowds often score higher in emotional intelligence than those who actively seek them. In other words, you're not socially awkward. You're socially selective. You don't want more people, you want the right people. Solitude, for you, isn't loneliness. It's relief. It's the one place where you don't have to shrink your personality or adjust your emotions to match the room. It's where you can finally breathe without performing. Next, we'll dig into the biology behind this. The literal chemistry in your brain that explains why quiet feels like home and chaos feels unbearable. Here's where things move from emotional to biological, because the reason crowds overwhelm you isn't just your personality, it's your brain chemistry. Most people get a burst of dopamine, the reward chemical, when they're surrounded by activity, noise, and social interaction. For extroverts, a busy room feels like a celebration inside their nervous system. Their brain lights up, their energy spikes, and being around people feels exciting, almost addictive. But your brain doesn't respond that way. Instead of feeling rewarded, you feel overstimulated, as if your internal system is saying, too much, too fast, too loud. What energizes others often pushes you toward the edge of shutdown. It's not avoidance. It's biology. Your brain releases much less dopamine in social settings than an extroverted brain. Instead, your system leans on a different chemical, acetylcholine, the neurotransmitter linked to deep focus, introspection, and quiet concentration. This means you don't come alive in crowds. You come alive in calm. You do your best thinking when the world isn't pulling at you from all directions. Early mornings when the sky is still gray. Quiet corners of coffee shops. Late-night drives with soft music humming in the background. While extroverts gain energy from stimulation, you gain clarity from stillness. Neither is better. They're simply different operating systems. Neuroscientists at Harvard have even discovered that introverted or crowd-averse individuals tend to have more gray matter in the prefrontal cortex, the brain region responsible for planning, reflection, and complex decision-making. So while someone might look at you sitting alone and think you're doing nothing, your brain is actually running a full internal symphony, analyzing, creating, problem-solving, restoring. You're not avoiding life. You're processing it more deeply than most people ever will. And this internal depth ties directly into the next big reason crowds weigh heavily on you. You don't just notice the energy around you, you absorb it. Have you ever walked into a room and instantly felt that something was off, even when everyone was smiling? Maybe the air felt tense. Maybe someone's mood hit you before they even spoke. Maybe you sensed conflict or sadness without knowing the story behind it. That's not imagination, that's hyper-empathy. People who avoid crowds often have emotional antennas tuned far more sharply than average. Your brain doesn't just observe other people's emotions, it mirrors them. In a small group, this ability feels like a gift. You can read people intuitively, comfort them, understand them on levels they don't even verbalize. But in a crowded space, this same strength becomes overwhelming. Imagine every emotion in the room: anxiety, impatience, excitement, frustration, sadness, hitting you at the same time. It's like you're a radio picking up every station at once, each frequency demanding your attention. Your mind is trying to sort through emotional static that most people don't even notice exists. No wonder you feel the urge to withdraw. You're not escaping people, you're escaping the weight of everyone's feelings layered on top of your own. But don't mistake this sensitivity for weakness. In fact, it's one of the rarest forms of emotional intelligence. Your ability to detect what's unspoken makes you someone who understands the world beneath the surface. You see subtle shifts others miss. You feel truth behind words. You recognize emotional dissonance before anyone else does. This kind of awareness is powerful, even if it exhausts you in chaotic settings. And this brings us to the final point, the deepest truth about why you avoid crowds. It's not fear. It's not awkwardness. It's not isolation. It's something far more intentional. You're not running from life. You're protecting your peace, and that is one of the most courageous choices a person can make. Here's the truth most people overlook. Choosing distance from crowds isn't avoidance, it's self-preservation. We live in a culture that idolizes noise, busyness, and constant social activity. If you're not everywhere, doing everything, with everyone, you're labeled as unmotivated, antisocial, or uninterested. But you've learned something that many people never figure out. Quiet isn't empty. Quiet is where your real life begins. When you step back from the chaos, you're not missing out, you're tuning in. In stillness, your mind clears. Your creativity rises. Your intuition sharpens. Your emotions finally have room to breathe. Your solitude is not a void. It's a sanctuary. It's the one place where you don't have to dilute your personality, hide your depth, or compress your feelings to fit into someone else's comfort zone. Your decision to protect your peace isn't a flaw, it's a sign of inner wisdom. It takes courage to say, "This environment isn't healthy for me," and walk away. It takes strength to choose a life that feels authentic, even if it looks quiet from the outside. So the next time someone asks, "Why are you so quiet?" or "Why don't you come out more?" you don't need to justify anything. Just smile, because they're asking from a world tuned to a different frequency. They don't realize that you experience life with a depth they may never touch. You see more. You feel more. You understand more. And in a world obsessed with shouting, your quiet is not a weakness, it's a rare form of intelligence. So tell me, are you someone who feels more alive in calm spaces? Or do you thrive in the noise? Drop your answer in the comments. I want to see how many of us choose clarity over chaos. And if this spoke to you, hit subscribe and tap the like button so more people who feel different can finally find their people. We go deeper every single day, and trust me, you're not alone here.